I've always personally really liked watching art studio like workspace tours just because I think it's really nice and inspirational to see how other people decorate and organize their workspace. But from my perspective, I've always felt like for like the year and a half I've lived in this apartment, I felt like I wasn't like decorated enough or like set up enough that it was interesting to see, but I have finally gotten to the point where I'm really happy with my workspace. I have a lot of decorations that make me happy and inspire me to create art, so I figured now was a very good time to share that with you guys. So here is a little quick tour of my workspace. This is pretty much the view when you first walk in. I also share this room with Steven. He has his desk and his computer and stuff in here, but for the most part this room does have my like art stuff and all of that stuff in there. So starting in one corner of the room, and I'm just gonna kind of work clockwise around it. Starting with my printer and my scanner. My printer is a Canon TS9120. I don't know much about printers. I literally got this one because Emily Artful on YouTube had it, and I didn't know anything about printers, so it's worked amazing for me. I use it for stickers and prints, and it's great. I also have my scanner, which is an Epson Perfection V39. I really like it. It's a pretty budget-friendly scanner, and it's done very well for me. A little bit above that and to the right, I have a bulletin board as well as a calendar. The bulletin board has a bunch of like random prints, pins, buttons, stuff I've got at conventions. A lot of the Pokemon pins are from the trading card packages. Just a bunch of random stuff that I have on display that's really cute and just more like aesthetic leaning, and it just makes me happy to look at. I also have all these paper swans that Steven made for me. He made me a ton of them, but I picked out my favorites and I hung them on a little banner. I really like them. And then I have this fruits basket calendar that my friend gave me. It's wonderful and beautiful. I'm not really a calendar person, but I'm a fruits basket person, and this has 100% made me a calendar person because I'm really happy to have it. And also, I don't know if you guys ever do this, but when it comes to calendars, I always go to my birth month and check which character it is and if I like them. And for this calendar, it is Kyo from Fruits Basket, and he's my favorite character, so that is wonderful. That's never happened to me before. And then up against the wall that has the window in this room, I have my computer desk as well as my art desk. Right above my computer desk, I have several of these hexagon boards that I have a bunch of charms and pins on, stuff that I got from conventions or online. I don't know a lot of the artists, and I'm really sorry because a lot of this is from conventions from like years and years ago, but I'll leave tags to whoever I can remember the users or if they're online on there. And as far as my computer desk goes, it's really not super exciting. I have a really cheap desk from Walmart that I got years and years ago, and I wrapped the top of it in a vinyl marble contact paper, which made it look so much nicer. I'm really happy with it now. My other desk that I have is actually a standing desk. It was recently sent to me by FlexiSpot to try out, and I'm really happy to have it. Originally, I had a folding table as my art desk, and I've been looking to switch it out for something different and just nicer as a whole, so I was really excited when they contacted me and offered for me to try out their desk. It was very easily assembly to put this desk together. I was able to completely put it together in about 15 minutes by myself, so it's such an easy process to get this desk put together and working. The mechanic to raise and lower the desk is just a push of a button, and the motor is really quiet and smooth too, which is so nice. The desk itself also has an insane range of heights that it can raise to. I'm 5'7", and it easily gets to a comfortable standing height for me to work at. I actually wasn't even able to raise it all the way to the max just to show how high it can go, because the desk would hit one of the shelves that I have on the wall before it actually got to the max height. The desk itself is really sturdy, and I'm very excited to continue using it. It's also a very pretty solid white color, so I'm excited to have that as the background for my videos from now on compared to the very like spotty kind of grayish I had before. But thank you so much to FlexiSpot for sending me the new desk. It's an upgrade I've really wanted to make, and it's a very positive workflow change in my environment where I can just have a standing desk and I can work like that if I choose to do so. So I'm beyond happy to have it. If you guys are interested in checking out the brand, I'll have links in the description box below. As far as the organization on this desk goes, it pretty much changes depending on what I'm working on. Sometimes it's a lot messier than what it is right now, but I have this really cute Kurilikuma, and I think it's Cherugakuma, I think that's the other one's name, little carousel spinner that I have just a bunch of like rulers, pens, stuff like that in. I also have a little Sakura and Minato figure glued to this because I just thought that would be really cute. I also have my pencil case as well as Tombow markers on my desk just because those are things that I reach for often, so it's nice to have them sitting there. But aside from that, it's pretty much just a bunch of different odds and ends that sit on my desk at any point in time, and whatever I'm working on is generally out and about, but for the time being, it's very nice and organized. To the right of my desk, I have 3 shelves. The 2 short ones are from Etsy, and the one on the right is from Target actually, but these are just floating shelves. I wanted them just to display stuff on the wall. So on the bottom shelf on the left-hand side, I have my Roller and Cleaner inks, as well as a little Paul Rubens sketchbook. I have a couple other things like a little figure and the Piplup plush on there. And then the shelf above that, I have my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India inks, as well as this Amaterasu figure, and I really like them. They're really cute, nice little display shelves, especially for the inks, because otherwise they'd just be sitting somewhere, and I think the bottles are really pretty, so I'm happy to have them on display. It makes it feel a lot more artsy in the room, and on top of that, it's really easy to just kind of grab and go with those. The other floating shelf I have also has quite a bit going on it. I have a Madoka and Homura figure on there, which I absolutely love. These are actually my first and only anime figures that I currently have, but Madoka Magica is easily one of my favorite animes, and these figures are very pretty. They're definitely like the cheaper kind of figures. I don't want to spend several $100s on figures, but very happy with these ones. They're really cute. I also have some Redbubble pencil cases up here that I ordered of my own art. I really liked the concept of the Redbubble pencil cases, but honestly, I wasn't super happy with the print. It was like slightly smudged in some places, and it was really fuzzy. I know it's printed on canvas, and canvas doesn't print super clear, but I was kind of disappointed with these, so I wouldn't super recommend getting pencil cases off of Redbubble, to be honest. But I also have a couple of other knick-knacky sort of items up here. I have a Skullanimal figure that I've had for years and years. I don't even remember when I got it, but I've had it for the longest time, as well as a little Yuri on Ice little trinket tray sort of thing. And then I do want to get more prints to help kind of spice up this area over here, but for the time being, I only have these 2 from Sheriel underneath the shelf. And then moving on to one of my rolling carts. I actually have 2 of these in this room, but this one is one that I actively grab stuff off of far more. I got both of these from Michael's in the rose gold color, and they're extremely helpful for organization, and on top of that, I think they're just really cute additions to a workspace. The top tier on this cart definitely has the art supplies that I reach for the most often. I have a lot of smaller watercolor palettes sitting up here, including my main palette and the Kuretake Starry Nights palette, which are the 2 that I use the most. I also have a Totoro drawstring bag and a Mouton pencil case sitting on the top, but I actually mainly have these 2 sitting up here for display more than anything. I don't really reach for the stuff that's inside of them. I also have my paintbrushes up here, which are separated in 2 cups based off of my nicer brushes, which are all watercolor brushes, and the other cup is pretty much a random assortment of cheaper brushes. I get asked a lot what brushes are good for watercolors and what brushes I use, and while I don't have a huge range of experience trying out a bunch of different brands, I'm a huge fan of the Princeton Velvetouch brushes, so those are primarily what I use for both watercolor and gouache paintings. I've had them for a really long time. I think I actually got my first brush with an Art Snacks box, but I'm really happy with them. They hold their points really well and they hold up over time, so that's definitely what I'd recommend to someone who's looking to try out new brushes. The last thing that's on this cart is actually something that I'm always forgetting about. I have this M-Gram gouache set that Steven got me for Christmas last year, which I actually haven't touched yet. I keep meaning to, but I kind of keep pushing it off at the same time because I'm scared to use them. But I have them, and eventually I do hope to use them, and I'm very excited to do so. As we go down on this cart, as far as the tiers go, it kind of gets less and less organized. On this tier, I have a bunch of acrylic paints as well as resin. I have both my UV resin and my regular resin on here. And on top of that, I just kind of have like mismatched art supplies. So I have some stationery memo pads up here. I also have this little drawer that has a bunch of art supplies that I kind of just have a bunch of. So I have my Prismacolor color erase pencils, which is what I use to sketch. I also have a bunch of erasers in here, some inks, just stuff that I kind of go through pretty frequently, so I kind of mass bought them just so I'd have a bunch. And then behind that is where I have all of my swatch sheets, which I try to keep together just because it's really convenient to have them all in one place, so I don't have to either make a new one or dig for them. But I have like watercolor swatches, gouache swatches, pretty much everything I've done a loose sheet of swatches should be sitting there. And then when it comes to the bottom drawer, this is actually very recently reorganized and there's really not a lot going on down here. I have some watercolors, so I have my Mission Gold watercolors, my Paul Rubens. I also have my Himi Maya gouache down here, as well as my Kuretake Gonzai Tombi watercolors. And then in the back is where I have my larger sets, so I have the palette for the Mission Gold watercolors, as well as this really old set of Shinhan professional watercolors. They say they're professional, but I think they're the student grade ones. They're not super great, but those were like my first nicer set of watercolors, so I still have them even though it's pretty old and I should probably throw them away. And then moving on, next to that tiered storage is where I have my 6 cube storage, as well as my Ikea Pegboard. I am beyond happy with this Ikea Pegboard. It's pretty much one of the most recent additions to my workspace. I got 2 different Ikea Pegboards, and I just spray painted one of them pink. That way it would be very like aesthetic and just fit the room very well. So I did that. I'm so happy with it. I think it looks really cute, and this thing holds so much stuff and displays it at the same time, and more so for display necessarily than functionality is the reason I got it, just because I think pegboards are really cute, but on top of that, it has so much storage space and it can really hold so much stuff. So I have a lot of stuff on this. I have these really cute snow globes that I got in Seattle, and one of them actually I found out exploded, which I found out when I was recording this because I picked it up to show it off and yikes. So it leaked all over the shelf. Somehow it did not get on anything or like destroy anything that's on the shelf. Really don't know when it happened, but that's a thing. I also have some other paper pads sitting up here, as well as an illustration I did. I have my Cricut mats up here, which is a really nice place to store them because they're really easy to grab and very close to the Cricut, but not super tucked away somewhere. I have some other sketchbooks up here and just a lot of etc. things, and that's pretty much the Ikea Pegboard. I also remade the pom-pom garland if you watched my studio vlog video. I still don't know if I like it, but it fits the aesthetic that's going on, so for the time being it's staying up. And then when it comes to the 6 cube storage I have sitting here, I obviously have my Cricut on display. This actually was very recently swapped out for the 6 cube. I used to have an 8 cube storage, and then I bought a Cricut and I needed a place to put the Cricut, so I downgraded to 6 cubes, which is really nice because the Cricut is at like chest level versus beforehand it was at like face level. So this is a really nice workspace kind of thing for me. In the first cubby, I have my Copic markers as well as this Pikachu plush. In the next one, I have kind of an assortment of things. So first and foremost, I have all the mail I've been sent from friends or just like P.O. box stuff. I have it all set aside because I don't want to toss anything. I'm gonna hold on to that stuff forever. I also have some sketchbooks I'm working on. I have this really cute dog planter that my best friend gave me years and years ago. And then, yeah, this is pretty much a pile of sketchbooks I really don't touch often, but I want to, and so I have them on display so they're really easy to reach for if I ever feel like using them. As far as the organization in these cubes goes, they're kind of a mess. I want to say that they're organized because they technically are, but they're also pretty messy to be honest. I have a very wide range of stuff stored in these currently, but they're really nice to have because even if they are a complete mess, they're very easy to tuck away stuff and just not have to look at it. The first cube is definitely the one that has like the least stuff going on in it. It's just a lot of etc. stuff that I threw in there for the time being. The second cube though is a lot of recently finished sketchbooks that I just want to have near in case I want to reference them, as well as some other loose sheets, paper pads, etc. The third one is the most chaotic. In my head, I refer to this one as like etc. crafts. So I have like rubbing alcohol, I have Sculpey, I have pliers, I have stuff for resin, just a lot of random stuff. And even though it doesn't look organized, it's kind of organized, I promise. And then the last one, I have a lot of kind of like, not necessarily shipping stuff, but paper to print stuff for prints, as well as my sticker paper. I have original art in here that I use for scans, or just pretty much loose sheet original art in this little folder. It's not the best system of storing it, but at the very least, everything is organized and together, and that is more than I can ask for. And then in this last folder I have sitting in here, it's what I intend to store prints in once I start making more prints. For the time being, all that's in here is actually just misprints of when I first got my print paper and I was testing out making prints at home, which went fairly well, but for the most part, the reason that they're misprints is because they're sized slightly differently, because I was getting used to how I wanted to size things and all that fun stuff. So for the time being, all that's in here is misprints, but eventually I'll use this to store some prints. I'll have to upgrade to a different system if I ever get either bigger prints or more prints, but for the time being, that's what I have, and it's sitting there and it's tucked away, so it's nice. And then pretty much the last thing in this room is my other rolling cart. I have a very wide range of stuff on this cart. On the very top, I have my fake flowers. These are what I use for background pieces, for videos, for thumbnails, for pictures, for Instagram, etc. I have a lot of them. I don't use most of them, honestly. Some of them are really old, but it's really nice to have as just kind of backdrop stuff. And then on this cart, I have a little thing that covers the top, so it's a flat surface. I have some really old paint palettes in there, as well as some cheaper acrylic paints. On the middle tier is where I have more shipping supplies. So I have this washi tape holder, my shipping scale, envelopes in there. I also have some stationery sheets as well as envelopes here in case I want to send a letter to someone. They're really cute and they're very nice, so I'm happy to have those. I also have my custom-made stamps that I have. I have a Do Not Bend one as well as a return address for my Patreon prints to send out. I also have my mailing stamps in here, and on top of that I also have some stickers. These are pretty much just test stickers that I printed along the way. Some of them are good stickers, but for the most part they're misprints. The bottom tier of this cart is also very just kind of plain and not full of stuff, just like the other cart. I have my Copic refills over here. It's not the best place for them. They're not super close to my Copics, but for the time being, they all stay together, so that's what matters. I also have some empty half pans in case I ever need them, because I had to buy a bunch of them just to get like 9 more from my main palette. And then I also have my Arteza Real Brush pens, as well as Prismacolor Verithin and Prismacolor Premier colored pencils sitting down here. And if you're thinking, wow, that's all in her art room, where are her other art supplies? Because she must have a lot more, because I do. I do have a lot of art supplies. I have a closet, and it's very chaotic, and on the floor in this closet, I have a bunch of art supplies. And this is a lot of stuff that's been sent to me, but it's a mess, so we're really not gonna go through that today. But that pretty much covers everything in my workspace. I know there's still a lot of things I'd like to add decoration-wise, and while it's not a complete mess, there are some things I know I'll have to change when it comes to organization, especially whenever I open an online store, but I'm really happy with this space for the time being. Thank you again to FlexiSpot for sending me the new standing desk, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.